Hello, everybody. It's Joe, and I am so excited to share a conversation with you today with our colleague and friend, Andres Valencia. Now, Andres, there's so many good things to tell you about Andres, but the thing that really struck us and why Mel and I connected with Andres, he led an event for us, a session as part of our entrepreneurs group, and he got real right away about topics that are really hard to discuss. And I think those are some of the fundamental issues with change, is that we are really touching on stuff that is very hard for people to articulate and talk about. And Andres so masterfully stripped that away, and we all talked about stuff that was incredibly meaningful. And I don't want to pull away from his story. I so encourage you to follow up with Andres, but just know that we just felt a kinship, and we've been chatting ever since and figuring out how we could work together. A little bit on his background. He is an executive coach, certified executive coach, and he's worked in academia and corporate. What's really cool about Andres is he wasn't afraid of some very daunting changes. And for those of you who work in medicine, you understand that, the medical community, for good reason, isn't quick to change. And one of Andres's experiences was as the program manager for patient experience and engagement at the University of Chicago Medicine in their hospitals. He led efforts at large scale cultural transformation. And when you think about working in the medical community and, their rules, both formal and informal, I think it's masterful that he came out of that experience saying, hey, I think there's something here that we can teach a lot of people to be successful in change. So with that, Andres, welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here, Joe.
Yeah, well, and I'm laughing too, because Andres right now because he is a coach and he's very much in demand, he's Chicago based, which, obviously people from Wisconsin, Madison, we're all related to people in Chicago, but he's smart enough to get out of Chicago and do engagements, and if you don't mind, in Miami for February. So again, if you're wondering if this guy is very smart, let me just say he's not in Chicago in February. And so thank you for sharing that view with us. So let's start with a question. You've been involved with massive changes, leading efforts on coaching executives. What gets you excited right now? I mean, you've been doing this for a while. What fires you up?
I love the question. And I think I do want to take one step back and just throw a little bit of change management theory into the mix. And I summarize change management with two phrases. The first one is that change hurts. The second one is that no matter when, there will be resistance to change. The theory tells us that. And as a leader, our responsibility is to deal with that resistance either before the change happens or after the change happens. The theory tells us we will not escape that. And so what gets me excited is that I see a lot more leaders being aware and conscious about the humanity in change. The resistance, perhaps the old school approach was, well, just get on board, get with the program, and this is what we got to do. Whereas what I see is the presence of mind to go like, okay, where does it hurt? What's the resistance? How does this impact you? I truly believe, here's another little nugget, that we talk a lot about organizational change, but what is really missing often in the equation when we talk about organizational change is that organizational change really is individual change. And that focus towards the individual and having them deal with their emotions, their frustrations, their fears is something that is more and more present. And Cirrus does an amazing job in seeing where that resistance might be. So that's a huge appreciation that I have for your tools.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Well, and this to me, and this came through in our conversation, at the retreat, was just this way that everybody is carrying something with them somewhere in their person that is preventing them from, I don't want to say being their best person, but certainly moving out of that space into something that could be better for them. And I thought the way you presented that was masterful. When did you become inspired to go that deep in a conversation with people?
I love the question. I don't know if there was a specific moment other than, so there's a part of me that has always been deep, even as a kid, right? I'm having more fun in my 40s than I had in my teens, 20s, and 30s combined. Maybe because I was that serious kid. So I always had this depth and the curiosity for meaning, for what is meaningful to me. And I always explore that with my clients as well. What is meaningful to them as it relates to this change, this new direction? What is meaningful to their team members that they might be able to recognize if we look at it through a slightly different frame or lens, so that they can get on board with this change. But it really connects to what is meaningful to the individual. And the awareness of that gets me excited.
Well, and did you find that that same approach worked well with, obviously senior executives at the University of Chicago, medicine department and the hospitals, as well as then the line staff that were, the ones more engaged with, that day-to-day interaction with patients?
I'll share a little bit what I did at University of Chicago Medicine. I introduced language there around what makes your heart sing, what gets you excited, what brings you joy in your job. And imagine an academic medical center that is being led through data and science. The idea of bringing in the emotion to it is perhaps hard, but it's a hard thing to just imagine. And yet, people were really receptive, because think about it. People who get into medicine often get up to take care of sometimes complete strangers, and they do that every single day. A lot of the people, I would start workshops asking, what brings you joy in your job? And why did you choose a career in medicine? A lot of people got into medicine to look after people. And so connecting with that part that is meaningful to why they got into it, and helping them see that they often do that every single day, is something that really resonated with that community. So it actually, the moment that you make it personal and you make it about them, and you help them see how this particular change, or how the conversation around feelings and emotions really is about their own feelings and emotions, and it helps them get more satisfaction out of their job. It wasn't that hard.
Wow. Well, that is some tremendous insight. In particular, the thing I think about is, my assumption is, and I would love you to disabuse me of this or confirm it, is that when people go into medicine and they start their careers early, they're service oriented. Does that ever leave them? Do they ever, was that the experience all the way to the top, that, these folks are here, what was your experience?
I do believe that it goes all the way to the top. The motivation for people to get into a career, whether that's healthcare or something completely different, what motivates them, what brings them joy in what they do, how do they, why did they choose this career in the first place, is often still present in what they do today. And because of busyness, because of just the demands, sometimes the competing demands that happen every single day, that gets lost. And taking the time to go like, okay, what brought me joy today? What was meaningful today? And having attention for that is something that connects us back to purpose, and that it will not change the challenges at hand. What it will change is the energy and the excitement with which we approach the challenges at hand.
Wow. And that is such a great bit of insight. Just thinking about, if you can take a little bit of time in the day to connect all of, your experience and goals and desires to be of purpose, to be of service to to that, and carving that time out, that's so powerful. Because you're right, there's no magic wand here. You can't wave away the stress of the challenges, but you can approach it with a different perspective. I want to get to one other question. I think we're going to go over a little bit, so forgive me. And that question is, where do you see the opportunities now then for these leaders who want to lead their teams through change?
I'm going to speak to the exact same thing that I said before, which is the opportunity to really connect individually with what is meaningful to the people that are going through the change, and giving them a voice and a space. There will be resistance to change. And sometimes the mistakes that I see is, well, this is the direction, there shouldn't be any resistance, they just have to get on board. And that would be a huge oversight. So the opportunity really is factor in whatever the changes that you're leading, factor in time and space for resistance, and channel that. Organize listening sessions to hear what people's concerns are as it relates to the change at hand. Organize time and space for people to, I'll say it not very eloquently, for people to vent. And know that that is temporarily, often after they feel seen, heard, and understood. There is more openness to whatever the change is that comes their way.
Right.
So it's both the excitement that I see about more people doing that. It's also the opportunity. There's a lot of change happening in the world right now. We're talking about recession. A lot of people or a lot of companies are right-sizing, downsizing, laying people off. That means that there's going to be change in the organizations, and navigating that and understanding that people might be sad and hurt that the organization let half of their colleagues go.
Right.
Is a really important part to continue to build trust, or to rebuild trust that got dinged in the mere exercise of letting people go.
Right.
So as a leader,
I think that's a tremendous bit of insight, is to really kind of encourage leaders to recognize that human level. A little bit of data here is what, we've been seeing out of the Association for Talent Development, is that organizations, right now are going through between 3 and 6 major changes at a time. I mean, this change, I don't want to even call it a wave, because a wave passes by. This is just, kind of our velocity in the world right now. And if you can get to that human level, that, I think that's so important, everything you've raised. And fundamentally, your experience matches our experiences, right? I mean, we knew that if you could give people a chance to vent, to be heard, to have a dialogue, and obviously with our tools, we'd measure that so that leaders would know, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. So they could actually have some, empirical data that would contribute to a success. With that, I know we need to wrap up. I enjoyed talking to you so much that I lose track of time.
all right. Same.
But I just want to say thank you for taking the time today. Any last thoughts you want to send out to the the Starkweather Cirrus audience?
Oof, I could have thought of that ahead of time. Any last thoughts is I'll wrap it up with what I started. There will be resistance to change. Factor that in, and you will be a-okay.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, and as you know, we believe every team can be ready for change. And I think, if people can follow your advice, they can move towards that readiness. With that, folks, reach out to me if you want to meet Andres. Obviously, you can look him up, Andres Valencia. And Andres, remind me the name of your firm.
Deliberate Breakthroughs.
Thank you. Yeah, brain cramp on my part. Deliberate Breakthroughs. And but reach out to me, and happy to introduce you to Andres. He runs sessions, he does executive coaching. We're so excited to have this relationship with him, and so blessed to be part of his engagements. And so with that, I hope everybody has a great day, and let us know what you think. Andres, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.